but a team that's been shooting the lights out, been covering games, been winning games as a dog, as a favorite on the road, at home. I'm gonna take the 7 points in this one. I just think Old Dominion, as good as their defense is, Marshall just dropped 82 on them. They're able to get got with the outside shooting, and UTEP can shoot. I just think it's too many points in this one. I couldn't figure out why it was 7. I was just trying to see what the line was at home, but I think this is their first meeting, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's their first meeting of the year, if I'm not mistaken. But
they haven't played this year.
Yeah, I like the 7. What do you think about that?
I agree with you. You look at this UTEP team. I mean, they are shooting the ball at a hellish rate right now.
Yeah.
87 points a game over the last 5, and shooting the ball at 52%. I mean, it's not like Old Dominion's very good. I mean, they're 3-7 this year at home against the spread, and they've really struggled against good teams. Mm-hmm. They've covered just 3 times this year against teams with winning records out of 13. They're one of the worst teams against the spread you're going to find in a major P10 conference here.
Yeah.
They're just not good. They don't score. I know they play pretty good defense, but they want to keep the games in the high 50s, low 60s.
Yeah.
Against UTEP, a team that's just been on fire lately, I wouldn't want to lay 7 points with Old Dominion here. I don't really get the line at all.
Yeah.
It's interesting, Sean, because both these games we talked about in Conference USA, they could either go the way we want or go the other way, and just kind of be sucker bets. But I don't know how you can lay either of these games and feel comfortable with it. I'm going to take both dogs here. I agree with you on UTEP.
Yeah, I just don't get it. You look at Old Dominion in this spot this year as a favorite of around these points. They haven't covered either one of them. The one thing that scares me, UTEP's getting like 90% of the money, and I've seen it go up to 7.5 in some spots. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's a shaky line.
It just seems too much. I don't see Old Dominion blowing this team out. I just don't see it. So we'll see.
Yeah, in last year's game, I don't know, how much that matters, but UTEP won 62-47. I mean, it wasn't even close.
Right.
And if you remember last year, Old Dominion was pretty good. I mean, they were right there possibly to make the tournament. So, you're not really that was pretty impressive in itself.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah, I like where your head's at in this one. I would agree with you.
Yeah. All right, on to the next one.
Yeah, the next one. We have to talk about this one. I'll go with IPFW, Sean. And to be honest, look, we've looked at a lot of lines this year. Probably the most puzzling line I've ever seen in any big game this year, honestly. I really, and again, that's probably not a good recipe here, but look, with the fact of how good IPFW is against the spread, if it's a sucker bet, it's a sucker bet, but I got to tell listeners, if you're out there listening, if you don't bet this game, you probably just should give up. I don't know why you wouldn't lay this number here. It makes 0 sense. I don't think the lines makers have any idea what they're doing with these conferences. You look at IPFW, Sean. Why is this line only 3? IPFW won by 21 earlier this year. They've covered 4 of 5 against Western Illinois. They're in first place. They're cruising. And I'm going to tell you why this is an important game for IPFW. South Dakota State plays North Dakota State. That's a really good rivalry. It's going to be a probably close game, you would think. IPFW, if they can get an easy win here, can kind of separate themselves a little bit here. Western Illinois sucks. They're 9-16. They're not going to make the tournament in this conference just because they're the odd man out. They're 2-6 at home this year against the spread and only scoring 65 points a game in conference. Why in God's green earth would you ever bet Western Illinois here? I don't care that you want to be the guy that just picks dogs all the time. This is an absolutely idiotic bet if you bet Western Illinois. There's no reason to bet them. If you win, you're just that fuckhead that wants to pick outright winners. There's no way in hell you would back Western Illinois here. None. 0.
No, I had them actually a couple weeks ago in Denver with they were one game out of the playoff because one team doesn't make the playoff, and you figure you get some effort out of them. I got lucky to get a win out of them there, and I stayed away. They lost 3 cents. They're the team out. I think they've realized that they're not going to be in the conference tournament. And IPFW, what can you say? The lines makers, just like Cal Davis last year, they don't get it. They haven't got it. They're not going to get it. You know, they're going to just continue to put out bad lines with them. And for whatever reason, there's people in Vegas that just continue to bet against them because the line usually moves against them each and every game. You usually sit and wait till the last minute to bet them because the line's moving against them. In this case, I think it's going with them. But, yeah, I mean, come on, like, real 3.5. It's crazy to me. It's a giant client play for me today, just for that. If I get burnt on it, so be it. But I'll put how many times I've won with them up against how many times I've lost, and I think we've been pretty productive. But I mean, we can only beat them so much. I mean, I don't know. Come conference tournament time, you know, it'll be fun because we can bet them a few days in a row, but. We can only talk about them so much. This Western Illinois team's just not good. They won 2 in a row last week, but they've lost like 17 out of the last 20 games, and for the most part, they really haven't been that close. I mean, they just lost to South Dakota State 87-67. You mentioned they got blown out by IPFW recently, and you know the day before South Dakota State beat them, IPFW beat South Dakota State 91-79. So they got them on the same weekend, and it was completely different results. There's no reason, barring some crazy, you know, thing, that IPFW doesn't win this game.
And I mean, you look at Western Illinois, and I don't mean to laugh, but I mean, they have 9 wins on the year. And look, I'll give it to them. In the first game of the year, they beat Wisconsin. Great job. But other than that, I mean, you look at their wins. I mean, this could very well be, if they had a tough schedule, a 2 or 3 win team. I mean, some of their wins are just pathetic. I mean, Hannibal, LaGrange, Trinity, Silver Lake. I mean, Eastern Illinois, Chicago State, who they lost to. I mean, just they're horrible. They're not good. And you know, this IPFW team. I mean, when are people going to stop defying logic and going against them? I can almost guarantee Scott Weaver will have a play in Western Illinois. It's just that people like to hate on this team, but yeah. I mean, when are you going to stop betting against them and just say, you know what, I like to make money and I'm going to bet on them here? I mean, if it loses, it loses. But IPFW should be on your card tonight. There's no excuse.
I agree. Jeremy's asked about the Marshall UAB. He must have came in late. Obviously, you talked about Marshall. All right, before I let you go, you got anything else? Are you doing a show today? No?
No, I'm not doing a show today, unfortunately. I have some other commitment at 5:30. But, no, I don't really have much else, Sean. I'd like coming on here and chat it up with you. I mentioned one more, Sean.
Go ahead.
Quick. I think Gonzaga hammers San Diego tonight. I know we just talked about how they're kind of on the outside looking in, but they need to keep winning games. They can't be taking opponents lightly. Yeah. San Diego's terrible. I don't know if you saw what they did on Sunday or Saturday, but I think they had like 33 points. So I would lay it there. But Sean, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And we'll see everyone tomorrow at 9 o'clock on the show, Friday night.
Sounds good, bud. Thanks. All right, that was Jeff calling in. Thank you very much. Always knowledgeable. Great to have him come on. We'll get him on during baseball, too. I think he had the day off today, so check him out at 9 tomorrow. Most of you guys already know the deal with that. The thing with this, I know, and we talked a little bit about it, but teams that have to win to get into the tournament, have to win because they're on the bubble, blah, blah, blah. They're in that position for a reason, right? Just because they need to win doesn't mean they are going to win. They put themselves there because they've been losing. So don't just back teams because of that. So that's that. So little rundown. I know he liked Marshall. We talked about IPFW. You getting my free 2-unit client play today on the show. Talked about UTEP getting 7. Strange line. I like Penn State. He likes the other side. We didn't get into the Cal game. Cal laying 7. I like that one. I do. I like that one a lot. And then Jeff had another one. I forget what I can't even fucking remember. I looked through so many games. You could tell me it was any one of these games, and I'd say, oh yeah, that's what we talked about. Because I don't know. Oh, Idaho State. That's right. Idaho State against Montana, getting the points at home. So that's that. Now NHL, real quick before we close out the show. And thanks to everybody for listening and everyone that will be listening later on today. I noticed everybody listens at 6 o'clock for whatever reason. When I look at the stats, Idaho State, thanks. So anyway, let's do a quick rundown of NHL. sort of incorporated into it, just because I've been having a pretty good read on it lately, so I figured might as well talk about it. And I get a lot of people that ask about it, so I like to do a quick rundown. New Jersey at Columbus. Good luck with that one. You don't know what you're getting out of there. Minnesota at Philadelphia. Philadelphia back off a road trip. Minnesota finally losing first loss since their new coach. Something to think about in this one. Minnesota in their last 12 games, either them or the other team has scored at least 4 goals in every one of those games. Think about that. You look at Philly, on the other hand, letting up goals. 3, 4, 3, 3, 3, right? Then in their last game. So a lot of goals being scored between these two teams. I got a client play on this one. After all that, I will tell you it's not the over, but the over is not a bad play. Carolina going into Toronto. Carolina, I keep saying, has been playing well, which they have, but they've been sort of going win-loss, win-loss. They're going out on the road. Toronto's been at home for a while, and, defensively, horrible. You get these teams that aren't good coming up on the trade deadline. Their head's not there. They don't know whether they're getting traded or not. They're trying to figure things out. They got families they got to move and all that. It's a time that mentally is taxing on these players. And if you know about hockey, it doesn't take much. If you're not 100% focused, you don't get over. You just barely miss the puck. If anything, it's a game of inches. If you're not there to screen it, the guy in front of you or try to block a shot, you miss it by an inch, they got a wide open shot at the goalie. Very mental game. Very mental. I would almost say, in order, it would be golf, baseball, and then hockey. It's a mental sport, and it's really something you got to think about going forward. That's why a lot of teams don't win when they come back from road trips. It's very taxing for whatever reason, more so in hockey. Rangers, St. Louis, real quick. You will not see me bet a St. Louis game, period. End of story. Do what you want with it. I'm not talking about it. Nashville going into Chicago. The trend here in this one, I guess, is towards the over. If you look, the last 10 games, only one has gone under. There's been a lot of 5s, though. Nashville playing well. Chicago stumbling a little bit. They haven't played since they played the outdoor game on Saturday against Minnesota, where they got completely embarrassed on national television. I would expect a pretty good effort out of them today. Winnipeg going into Dallas. Another one where trending towards the over. This one Winnipeg team, according to my buddy up in Canada, is a complete mess right now. Their captain might be getting traded in the next few days. They're playing terrible. They're coming off a big road trip. They lost their first game back on the road trip to Dallas 2 days ago. And now you get Dallas again. Home and home with a day in between. Dallas getting it together. I like Dallas, obviously. At minus 200, you might want to put them in the parlay, maybe with that Texas team in college baseball that I talked about earlier, or down the line here. Islanders, Calgary, I don't have much there. Ottawa, Vancouver, another one that could probably go either way. Edmonton against the Kings. This is probably one of my favorite ones of the night. The Kings have dominated this series. The total has dominated with the over, mostly because of the Kings scoring 5, 4, 3, 2, 8, 5, 6. At home, they've scored in the last few against Edmonton. Now, mind you, out of these 10 games, and they're 8-1-1, right? 7 of them have been on the road. The 3 at home, they've scored 4, 8, and 6 against Edmonton. Edmonton, when's the last time Edmonton's won? They lost 5 in a row. I think they've lost 8 of 9, and if you go back even further, it's even worse. Another team that is probably going to be sellers this next week. The Kings, the thing with the Kings, they're winning. They're not letting up goals. And, you get 2-1 games. The Kings in their last 5 haven't scored more than 2 goals in a game. So playing the minus 1.5 right now might be tough, but you could say they're due. They were on the road for 4 games against some good defensive teams where they didn't score much. They came back home, first game off a road trip. They get the win. You don't expect, a big effort, but now, they're back home, comfortable spot, quick in net. Defense has been playing great. They get the most shots in the league. Second most shots in the league. I apologize.